Yeah, it goes here, but I can see we'll continue on with a game called Cupid. Where were we? Here? Yeah, I think. Yeah, she didn't dare divulge more than that to Catherine. But it was partially true. I like G guy, he's a good friend. But I love my sister. If they want to stay together, then why not fix this and have at it? But what irritates me to my damn snatch is the way they are with each other. Catherine recently found the use of expletives endearing in her speech. Is it pronounced expletive? Rosa hoped it was a phase. They're fucking miserable. Any half of it can see that. Yeah. I've told Emily time and again to smarten up. She's hurting a lot of people, including herself. But as if she would listen to her 16-year-old brat of a sister, huh? Even G-Guy's depressed, I could tell. Remember when he used to come here in the piano room to have tea? Or when he would hold spontaneous picnics in the afternoon? We used to run around chasing rabbits in the garden. You ran around. We just watched you get dirty, actually. That is very true, you chumps. Back then it used to be fun visiting the chateau. Nowadays we barely even see him. He just stays in his bureau all day, brooding. Is it something adults subject themselves to, like a torture ritual? I really don't understand why two people who are clearly unhappy keep at it. Rosa did understand. At least some part of her did. She couldn't exactly explain how pain and love worked. All she knew was that it had something to do with an absurd, obsessive amount of hope. She felt Mother tugging at her mind. She loved Mother so much. Living with the P.3 gave her ample comparison to her former life. She had finally accepted that her mother was cruel. And yet Mother still gave her love and kept her from wanting. Was that crazy? Perhaps it was the only love she needed. Perhaps it was what she deserved. Rosa shook the thoughts off her mind and just shrugged. I know you're worried about your sister, Kath, but they will figure it out. Humans have the ability to learn from their mistakes. As their loved ones, all we can really do is be patient with them and remind them we're still here. Look at you, all profound and shit. You read any smart books lately? Just the riveting account of the ugly duckling and Baba Black Sheep. Ooh, classic literature. The classics. She stole my joke. I don't know how you put up with books, though. I get bored easily. In order to write, I have to learn how to read first. I want to write. Why would you want to do a dastardly thing like writing? Why would you want to hit some crazy strings until your fingers bleed? The two friends laughed again. I want to remember things. I want to write them down. But most of all, I want to feel the way you do when you play piano, Kath. Oh? The way you look when you play, you are passion and bliss in musical form. It feels like love, like magic. You inspire me to do something fulfilling and grand. Well, I'm sure you will. Hey, why not write a play one day? Oh, let's do it. You'll write an amazing play, and I shall provide the music. We'll travel around the country and perform. Who's going to pay for all the expenses? We'll make lots of money and gain lots of followers. Twitter before we had Twitter, we had performers that actually had talent and stuff. We shall be known as the P.3 Parade Caravan of Wonders. P.3 Parade? You sure? Puns are the best, trust me. She has a point. That sounds darn batty, Kathy. Ugh. From this day forward, nobody's allowed to call me Kathy ever again. The sound of a knock interrupted their giggles. Catherine, it's me. I need to discuss something important with you. Catherine pouted at the sound of her sister's voice. She turned back to her piano and pouted a sarcastic, happy tune. Rosa stood up to open the door. Hello, Rosa. Madame. She had seen little of the older P.3 sister recently, and it astounded her how old she had begun to look. Her once radiant face looked tired and harrowed, almost crone-like. Huge bags hung underneath her eyes. And yet she still looked quite dignified, full of pride and pomp. There was extra rogue on her skin and her demeanor was elegant. It was as if pride was her only source of nourishment these days. Do you mind giving Catherine and me a moment of privacy? Rosa gave a small bow. Of course not, madame. Rosa gathered her nursery books and squeezed Catherine's shoulders before stepping out of the room. Rosa entered the quiet room of the library. She was about to approach the table when she noticed Guillermo already occupying the seat. He was writing something in a book, somewhat immersed in the activity. Rosa stopped dead in her tracks. Leave now. He is not looking, child. Just go in and ignore him, child. Why are you so nervous anyway? Just ignore him. He doesn't seem to notice you. Unfortunately, Guillermo lifted his head and saw her by the door. No, hello, Rosa. Rosa took a step back. Maybe it was best to walk away, as if this were a mistake. But wouldn't that be rude? He already had seen her, after all. But she had never been alone with him. It was just too awkward. Well, why not just go in? It was going to be fine. They had conversed normally before. But that was because she would hide behind the more assertive Catherine. Now I look like an idiot. Watch her pace in front of the door in amusement. Rosa decided to go in. She had already embarrassed herself enough anyway. There was little left to lose. Besides, there was nowhere else to go in this big house. She had gotten lost in its hallways too many times, much to the annoyance of the P.3. The library was her favorite place. If she stayed quietly in one corner, Rosa was sure they wouldn't bother each other. She took a seat at the farthest corner of the table and opened her book. Oh no, he's actually standing up and walking over. No, you horrible man. Just sit over there while I'll sit over here. But Jubilina was already beside her, peeking at what she was reading. A cold sweat spread on her scalp. She'd probably turn on the air conditioning. Rosa, that book! Rosa began to chatter nervously. I know it's a children's book, sire. I'm teaching myself to read. I know most commoners don't really bother, but I want to learn. Wait, she's a witch though. How can she not know how to read? How does she do her spells if she can't read? So please don't laugh or mock me. Jab, pointed to the book. It is upside down. Oops. Rosa stared at it. The ducks in the picture had their feet up in the air. Rosa squirmed, feeling the heat on her cheeks. I'm sorry. Ginevra's face lost its cheer. What do you need my forgiveness for? Rosa looked up at Ginevra. His eyes lacked the gentle glint that he usually had. It was such a subtle change, something felt rather than observed. She thought he would reprimand her further. Instead, he sat down beside her, drumming his fingers on his cheek as he watched her wordlessly. Well? Weren't you going to read? What was wrong with him today? He didn't seem like himself. Had he eaten something bad? The aura he exuded was not his usual friendly warmth, yet it wasn't particularly wicked. The look on his face just read slightly and internally miffed. What the hell does miffed mean? There's so many words here that I don't fucking understand. So many words I can't pronounce. What is this fucking... Rosa turned the book upright and read the words out loud. Once you... That is the U with the short sound. It is pronounced like this. Genius man made the sound, his face still in his lazy state. Rosa nodded and continued. Her nerves were frazzled, but she was actually at ease in his presence. She felt like a child being taught by a parent. The parent was strict, but still caring. And the child was jumpy, but eager to learn and please. Most of all, he would not hurt her for her mistakes. Rosa was almost sure. There lived, the past tense of love. Why do we change it? It is a rule of grammar that... Grammar? Ginevra narrowed his eyes at her. Do you even know your alphabet? Rosa shook her head. You should start there. Ginevra rose from his chair and disappeared amongst the shelves. He was embarrassed, like, why am I doing this in my own privates of times? He left behind an old thick book covered in green felt. This was what he had been writing in earlier. It looked tattered and worn. The pages lay thick on its side that the book didn't close properly. Rosa reached out to pick at the cover when, "You are not to touch that." Rosa's whole body froze at the sound of Jididab's warning. Jididab's stares followed her as she whispered numerous apologies under her breath. I'm sorry. Jididab just rolled his eyes. Must you always ask forgiveness for everything? It is quite irritating. I'm sir. His hand struck the table in front of Rosa. In the quiet library, the sound rang uncomfortably in her ear. When she looked up, Jididab's face was looming severely above hers. He moved closer to her, his eyes fixed on her intensely. Rosa's mouth hung open. She struggled to say something, but her wits were like the burning ends of a matchstick. Before she could compose herself, she felt Jididab's hand lift her chin. Rosa's heart thumped loudly inside her chest. Please don't, not you too. She felt his breath on her face, and her heart sank into despair. Mother's voice resounded in her head. In the end, they're all the same. He's like everyone else. There are no more good people left in this world, child. She shut her eye and prepared herself for the worst, like she always did when. Then she felt her face being turned from side to side. She opened her eye to see Jididab studying her face like a textbook. You are a fairly attractive girl, yet you carry yourself as if it is a blight. He lifted the hair that hid her damaged eye. Rosa clenched her teeth. Is it because you were hurt before? He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was saying that the sky was blue. Rosa recalled from his touch. No, I did that to myself. I wasn't talking about your eye. He placed the book on the table. It was a thin pamphlet filled with letters. There were lines in the book that instructed the user to trace letters in their quill. Rosa wanted to focus on it, but she could feel the truth in the Marquise's words stinging her. It was the way you went limp when I touched you. Next time I advise you to fight back. If you don't want to be touched, then you don't have to be. Do you understand this? But I am weak. Says who? His eyes were humorless. The world cares not for people who think of themselves as victims, Rosa. If you need power, then be powerful. If I want to be rich, then be rich. Like, really? You think that's fucking easy? Push back, fight back, struggle. If you end up crushing things along the way, so be it. Rosa flinched under the weight of his stare. She realized that the polite and courteous Jididab was but a facet. It was still him, but it was nothing but an oil portrait, an artwork of his devising. Synthetic, aloof, and irrelevant. It couldn't capture his essence in a few human strokes. I'm about to forget stretch. Oh, man. Suddenly, Rosa realized he was powerful. Who are you? She caught herself before saying it out loud. You are not Jididab. And yet, he spoke as if he knew what it was like to hurt and to fear. If you don't start acting like you own yourself, then people will not hesitate to take everything. He laid out the rest of the books he had brought out. One was an activity book for children. It had a picture of a child holding an apple with an arrow stuck in it. Another was a book of limericks. The other two were thicker books that intimidated her. She would come to know them as Hamlet and Paradise Lost. But the one that caught her eye was an ornately designed book. It had a beautiful red jacket with delicate gold trimmings lining the corners. The gods and goddesses of Roman mythology. This would be her favorite book, her treasure, and she knew it like love at first sight. These books are yours. Take them with you. Read the thin ones first, and then gradually build your vocabulary with the thicker ones. The big books may look intimidating, but give it time. Soon your reading scope will be limitless. Rosa ran her hands over the skin of the red book. She opened the cover gingerly, as if unwrapping a present. Thank you. No thanks needed. You're still so generous even when you are like this. Like what? That. What? Somewhat grumpy? G didn't reply, leaving an awkward silence lingering between them. Then he gave a giant laugh that made Rosa jump out of her skin. I do look like a grump, don't I? Are you okay? Is it because of Emily? G's eyes drifted away. No, I have always been like this. That's not true. You're nice and friendly usually, especially with Catherine and the townsfolk. That's nothing. It's easy for me to adapt to people, especially to the ones I like. Rosa furrowed her brow. Adapt? What a strange word to use. Jiddu looked at Rosa as if he had just become aware of her presence. It makes me wonder why I'm so stern with you. You're right, I'm not usually like this. I'm sorry. Rosa shook her head. I somehow prefer this side of you. Jiddu tilted his head to the side with amusement. He brought out the green book that Rosa noticed earlier. This is called a journal. When you learn to write, start one. What is it? Something you can use to remember yourself when you've forgotten. Does it work? It used to. Nowadays, not anymore. Oh. The act itself is the only thing I remember. Now, let's start with your vowels. A scream pierced the halls of the chateau. It was Catherine. Jiddu sprinted to the door with Rosa not far behind. What the hell? What happened? Back in the piano room, Catherine took a shaky step towards her sister. She wasn't moving at all. Blood dotted the ivory keys. I didn't. It was an accident. Emily. It was a nasty fall. Emily? Catherine saw the way her sister's head snapped back as it collided with the sharp corner of the piano. Oh, shit. She watched it all like a series of photographs in her head. She had to check on her, right? She had to touch her and shake her awake. Make sure she was okay. But her feet refused to move. Instead, she retreated into a corner. She didn't even notice her legs were moving until her forehead touched the wall. She didn't want to turn around. Her sister laid on the floor, her eyes open, unblinking. It was an accident. It was nothing but an accident. Was it? She pushed first. She got really scary. She strangled me. What? That's absurd. Are you sure? Would she do that? I don't know. I think she did. Catherine touched her throat. It felt fine. That P.3 girl, Emily, is it? She really believes just because the Marquis took her in that he's interested in her? While she's obsessed with the master, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Wasn't her mother a bit, not right in the head? It probably runs in the family. Emily had looked mad. Her eyes had burned with malice for her as she had closed her fingers around Catherine's neck. But she couldn't remember if that had really happened. Sister was always kind to her. She would never ever hurt her, even when they got into fights. Sister loved her. Am I turning mad? I have the blood of a mad woman. Am I going to end up like her? I only told her the truth. Jiddu doesn't care for her, and she doesn't even care for him that much either. It was all just chaff, the relationship. No sense making everyone else miserable too. But she called me jealous and a cunt. She has never called me a cunt. I was spoiled, she said. She started to start work so young, but I got to laze around and play piano all day. She said they have decided to send me away. My lesson sent home. The piano replaced. It was for my own good, she said. I don't have to travel here all the time. I can concentrate on my other endeavors. I can make new friends. But I know she doesn't want me near the chateau or Gilele. She hates it when I catch her with him. Perhaps this morning was the last straw? She hates it, but she also smirks at me when I see them. Like she basks in it. I think I might hate her. Catherine's thoughts ran her head like a storm. They poured out of her aimlessly. I wonder if the piano is broken. Am I going to pay for it? What will become of us without sister's wages? Oh shit. What of father's medicine? What of my dreams? Sister can't be dead. Sister can't be dead. Catherine brought her fingers to her lips and nibbled on her thumb. She didn't notice this. Her mind was preoccupied. She cowered in her corner of the wall, biting her fingers. It was a tiny comfort in a rapidly collapsing world. Hooray for comfort. Julia opened the door and found Emily lying on the floor. An ugly gash broke the skin of her forehead. Facing the wall was Catherine, shivering like a leaf and viciously devouring one of her fingernails. He approached her cautiously. "Catherine?" Rosa let out a gasp at the grisly scene. Emily's lifeless eyes stared up at nothing, while Catherine pressed herself into a corner. What had happened after she had left? "Rosa, will you call for help, please?" "See that someone checks on Emily." Rosa did as she was told, her eyes on the broken, shaking Catherine. She wished she could comfort her friend herself. Julian took a small step towards Catherine. He called out her name slowly, coaxingly. Catherine turned her head, her thumb still on her lower lip. The flesh was torn, and a smudge of scarlet painted her teeth. "Uh-oh." "It was an accident, I swear." "Of course it was, Catherine. Of course it was. She pushed me first. She wanted me sent away. She wanted me gone. You can tell me about it later. Let me take you away from this room. What have I done?" Catherine fell to her knees and wept. Large sobs sucked the air out of her lungs. She felt like drowning, trying to keep herself afloat in between sobs. Every exhale was a squeezing pain in her chest. Janamna, arms wrapped around her. "What have I done? What have I done?" "You didn't do anything, dear. This is not your fault." There was a bitter bulge building up in her throat, and she felt that no amount of crying could push it back down. "What am I going to do? Sister, I'm so scared." Gina's arms wound tighter around her, and she clutched onto his arms in his vast sea of fear. "You don't have to be. I will always be by your side. Catherine, I will take care of you and your father, all right? You don't have to worry about your future." Her tears soaked his shirt through, but the squeezing in her chest felt less painful. "Why do you do this? Why do you care so much for me?" Gina's brows furrowed, as if confused that she even asked. "I just do." It was a boldly stated fact, as if painfully obvious, as if Catherine was a fool for not knowing it, you fool. It made Catherine's heart expand in her ribs. When she looked back, she would recall this as the moment she fell in love with him. The look in his eyes was reassuring and strong. She wasn't alone. She was going to be all right. "Let's get you away from here." He supported her arms and stood her up, careful to block the view of her sister from her eyes. He led her to the door. Catherine hated how fast her relief came. She was still drenched in sorrow at her sister's death. Her father would not take well to the news, especially in his health. But she was all right, and she hated it. Rosa was with her. She didn't have to leave her piano, her dreams, him. Nothing had to change. And most importantly, she hated the voice that came whispering in her head over and over again. "Thank goodness he's dead. Thank goodness." Damn, dude. Next. What's up? The first candle is lit. This candle is storage. The love for familiars. The cleanest love. Rosa stared at the blue candle glowing in her hand as she chanted her spell. Trust is the veil that conceals and deceives. Trick his eyes and his heart with the warmth from his candle's flame. A bond of blood like kin will be forged. Weave this rush so his tongue will yield to what is sought. Huh? Okay. Oh shit. I skipped that. Back. A bond so yada yada. Oh well, okay. I ain't gonna read that. Rosa stood by Catherine's tomb nursing memories of her. The soft wind gently blew her hair. It reminded her of Catherine and her playful ways. Tears sprouted from her eye. Even the wind. Console her, scold her, console. I am always here, my love. Loss will always hurt, but you love Mother the best, don't you? Yes, Mother. Then you're going to be fine. I will never leave you like Catherine did. Rosa. He's wearing his pajama suit again. G's soft voice came from behind. Rosa glanced at him in acknowledgement. He stood quietly beside her for a few moments but ventured to speak. Have you thought about my offer? My house is always open for you. Remember that. I'm sorry for my outburst back then. It's nothing. The wind played around her feet, and Rosa pictured Catherine as part of the breeze, playful and free. She was free from the pain and confusion that plagued her in her last days. They stood beside each other in solemn reverence. Finally, Rosa broke the silence. She was my family. I was in pain before she came along. I didn't know any better. She gave me hope. She was bright like a flame. When I closed my eyes, I could still see the imprint of her light in the darkness. I can feel her warmth. A star. They didn't speak again for some time. Gene cleared his throat. Ahem. I was an orphan too, much like you. I know what it feels like to lose too much. I wandered for a long time before I found anything to live for. Were you alone? Sometimes, always. Rosa nodded. Did you have family? Gina shifted uncomfortably. No, dear, I never knew them. Much of my memory of it is blurred. How the hell did you become Marquise, then? I was taken in by kind people once before, but... Gina sighed, and Rosa observed a certain disquiet in him. I didn't belong. Somewhere I belong. But you have no difficulty mingling with people. That's more necessity than preference. But either way can be quite tiresome after a while. I don't know why I'm telling you this. I am making the mood worse. I'm sorry. Never mind. Gina had never opened up to her about this past before, and it worried Rosa how little she actually knew about him. Anyway, would you like to go around town? Wait, why do I talk like that? I'd very much like to take you someplace more cheery. How about our favorite spot? Gina smiled with understanding. The pair traveled up a hill at the edge of town. There the view overlooked the quaint village. The sunset painted everything in the pink gloved dusk of endings. That's not pink. It's always so beautiful here. They used to spend time on this grassy knoll, the three of them. It was their own little hideaway. Memories of the past crept up on every corner. The ghosts of laughter echoed in the wind. Rosa touched the trunk of the small tree they had carved their names on. So many fond memories. Rosa, what? I want you to have this. Gina took Rosa's hand and placed an item in her palm. It was a simple silver locket. She looked up at him questioningly. I have had that for as long as I can remember. One of my remembrances of the past. I can't take this. You must. You need it more than I do. But it's old and the locket doesn't even open anymore. I don't know why I've held on to it for so long. I can't even remember how I came to have it. I don't know why I sound so dumb. Maybe, I don't know, man. But it comforts me. Maybe it'll have the same effect for you. This is your treasure, Jira. It feels wrong to take it. On the contrary, I believe you must have it. I am not good at expressing sorrow or even giving comfort. But I want to do something, at least. For you. He closed his hand over hers, affirming the gift. It's yours. Please take it. Ah, shit. I think I have to stop it here. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, but I'm also getting kind of bored. That's why I'm making fun of the voices and stuff. But I still want to see what happens. It's kind of weird where I feel like I'm bored, but I still want to see where it goes and stuff. So yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense. Like, I don't like it, but at the same time I kind of see what happens to the rest of it. I don't know what that feeling is. So yeah, this is Cupid. If you want to try to get it for yourselves, the links are in the description. That is all for today. Stay safe and take care of yourselves. Maybe it's because I have a hard time reading words that I can't pronounce. That makes me not careless for it or something. I don't know. It's just a theory. A dumb theory. Thanks for watching.